Yo, what's up, guys? It's Mr. Gooby. Welcome in, welcome in. I hope everyone is having a great day. Right now, currently, I am on my hardcore world. In this video, I plan on just going and trying to find, well, trying to start my farm mainly, and doing a little landscaping here and there, and mainly just trying to get my like base set up, and also messing with villagers, trying to just gather them in a hole for now. But for stories today, we have some pretty intense and scary stories, I will say. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoy. Sit back, relax, grab a snack, and let's get straight into it. This is story one. I think my daughter's imaginary friend is real. I'm not exactly an expert on imaginary friends, but even I can tell you that they are supposed to be imaginary. I mean, duh, right? That's what I told myself whenever my daughter started mentioning hers, telling me about their adventures together and what fun games they'd play when my daughter got home from her school in the afternoons. It mostly included tea parties, hopscotch, and, dress up. But there were a few she told me about that kind of didn't really make any sense to me. Take hide and seek, for example. How exactly are you going to hide from someone who's not visible, let alone seek them? But like I said, I just chalked it up to her imagination running wild. And what furthermore cemented that belief was the fact that we had only just buried our dog 2 weeks ago before she started talking about this made up friend of hers. We never really told her about the accident or how I mistakenly backed over. God damn! Sorry, guys. How I mistakenly backed over her little puppy wall in a rush to get to work. We knew it would crush her to find out, so we lied. Told her that little Maxie had ran away, that we'd put up flyers, and that she'd come home soon. I think that's what caused her to create her own companion. Someone that would be by her side for as long as she let them. But who was I to judge? Who was I to crush my baby's dream after literally killing her best friend? I just let her do her own thing. All the better if it kept her from prying about what happened to Maxie. It worked for a while. Hell, part of me even wondered if she was going to miss the dog. She hasn't so much as even mentioned his name. Things started to get shaky though when I came home from work one day to find my little girl sitting alone with her tea kit spread out in front of her. She wore a cute little princess tiara and dress we got her from her Christmas last year. And it was honestly a melancholic moment. I wish I could have been there to see her all get dressed up. Her face didn't match the outfit though. She looked pissed. Emily told me Maxie isn't coming back. She snapped. She said that you lied about him running away, that he's never coming back. I was dumbstruck. I had literally just walked into the house. Honey, no, I pouted. Daddy would never lie to you about something like that. Look, come here, let me hold you. Wait. Her words finally registered. Who is Emily? You know who Emily is, you big fat beanie. She cried, scrunching her face into a little ball. She's my best friend since you took Maxie. But before I could reply, she ran off towards her bedroom, announcing, Come on, Emily, let's go play somewhere else. To say I was shocked would be an understatement. I thought that maybe my wife had been talking to one of her friends, and maybe my daughter overheard. So my first thought was to ask her. However, she flat out denied it before I could even finish my question. Yeah, she's been talking about that since she got home from school. It was bound to happen sooner or later. Don't worry. Right, because that's the part I was worried about. My daughter avoided me like the plague that night. I had seriously never felt so dead to her. Even still, I couldn't bring myself to tell her the truth. I just tucked her in, kissed her on the forehead, and switched her nightlight on like usual. Before I went to bed that night, there were a million thoughts circulating around in my mind, which most of which were about how I'd tell my daughter what really happened. I still couldn't think of the words, but I made a promise to myself that I'd tell her the next day. Unfortunately, that plan was dissolved around 3 o'clock that morning. I was awoken by my wife shaking me while screaming. Roxy's gone, she screeched. I just checked her bedroom. She's not there. I've looked the entire house. This had me jumping out of my bed before my brain could even register what was happening. Luckily for us, the search didn't last long, though. We didn't have to call the police. We didn't have to garner a search team. All we had to do was check our backyard. That's where we found her, kneeling over Maxie's grave in her pink Hello Kitty pajamas. When I saw her, all I could do was scoop her up in my arms and hold her close while I cried. To my dismay, she started actively fighting me to get away from me, screaming, kicking, clawing, and in the chaos, I saw the scourge of her anger. Maxie's grave had been dug up and the corpse laid beside it, rotten bones exposed, and the maggots had already made his body their new all you can eat buffet. Once my wife took my daughter away from my arms, she settled down enough to finally speak. All she had to say was, "Why did Emily show me and not you?" Alright, guys, I will say that story got pretty intense at the end right there. That is, yeah, her imaginary friend is definitely real. She is not imaginary. Alright, guys, hope you enjoyed that story. Let's get into story two. Guys, this is going to be story two. Don't go driving late at night. It had been a long day. After 8 hours of grueling work, I'd wanted nothing more than to sit on my sofa and enjoy a relaxing night of watching TV. Driving home, my head was clear, and my focus was solely on getting back safely and in a timely manner. The missus was waiting for me. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be so lucky. On the final stretch down a quiet wooded road, red and blue colors protruded the pitch black night sky. I sighed as I pulled over slowly, with the police closing in on my rickety old minivan. As the police approached, a bead of sweat dripped down my forehead. I had always been nervous around the law, and being pulled over in the dead of night never meant anything good. The officer introduced himself and hit me with the cliche line, "Do you know how fast you are going?" before asking him for my license and registration. I put on my smile and handed my information over, and he stopped for a moment. Peering suspiciously in my direction, he looked around and, with no cars in sight, asked me what I was doing out on this deserted road at this time of night. I politely responded, stating I was just heading home after a long day's of work. His eyes narrowed suspiciously and told me it wasn't safe to drive these roads late at night. He leaned in and, with a concerned look on his face, he told me that there was a recent report of a group of people faking gruesome injuries to get drivers to stop. And as soon as they exited the vehicle, they would be attacked. Luckily, the man just barely got away, but not without a critical stab injury to his leg. Bewildered, I thanked the officer and promised to keep an extra careful watch on the roads the rest of the way home. The officer smiled and told me that he had just ran my plate and then I could be on my way. I quickly responded to him telling him to do whatever he needed to do, but I did mention that my wife and I would be taking our new boat out on this lake this weekend, and since he was so nice, I invited him to tag along. With this, the officer responded with a goofy grin and told me he'd appreciate my offer. After that, he told me just to get out of here and stay safe on the rest of my drive back. He drove off without another word. As the officer's car faded into the distance, I let out a sigh of relief. I opened the center console where a large hunting knife was stored, still dripping with crimson blood. My right eye twitched in frustration as I thought back to how close I was to finishing the kill on that lucky man just hours before. I finished driving 3 miles down the road before pulling off to the side once again and putting my car in park. I made my way to the back of the car, opened the rear door, revealing the dead body of a woman covered in stab wounds. She hadn't been so lucky. One for two. Could have been worse, I muttered, before disposing of the body, my pre dug hole 6 feet deep. As I drove home in my new car, I couldn't help but smile at how easy life had been after escaping the sane asylum just a week ago. It's surprising how far a fake smile and good acting can take you. Wow, that was a twist. I was not expecting that. Wow, that's that's crazy. All right, on to story three, I guess. All right, this is story three. I think my sister is gone. I think whatever came back from that road trip isn't her. I need to write this out because I've been carrying it alone for 3 weeks and it's starting to feel like a weight I can't hold anymore. My sister's name is Maria. She's 29. She's been my best friend since I was old enough to understand what that meant. We have the same laugh, the same habit of narrating our own lives out loud when we're alone, the same fear of being in water we can't see the bottom of. I tell you this because I need you to understand. I know her. I have always known her. She left for the road trip on Tuesday. Just her and her boyfriend Caleb. 2 weeks, no fixed itinerary. They were going to drive down south through the desert, through New Mexico, and into Texas. Camp where they felt like it, turn around when the trip felt done. Maria had been saving up for it all year. She texted me every other day, sent voice memos when she was too tired to type. One voice memo was just 12 seconds long of her laughing about something Caleb had said, not even bothering to explain it, just wanting me to hear her that she was happy. The last text I got from her was on day 10. It said, "Weird night, tell you when I'm home, love you." I asked what she meant, but she didn't reply. She got home 4 days later. I don't know how to say this without sounding like I've lost it, so I'm just going to say it. The person who walked off that elevator and hugged me in the hallway was not my sister. I know that sounds insane. She looks like Maria. She sounds like Maria. She knew things that only Maria would know. The nickname for our grandmother's cat, a stupid argument we had in 2019, the exact way I take my coffee. When I hugged her, she smelled like Maria's shampoo. That rosemary thing she always buy it at the co-op. But there was something wrong with the timing. That's the only way I know how to describe it. Like when you are watching a video, but the audio is off by half a second. You can't always point to a specific moment, but your brain knows something was half a second off or something. A beat too late before she smiled. A fraction too long before she answered a question she should have answered immediately. Like there was a pause happening before her eyes that I wasn't supposed to see. I tried telling myself I was projecting. She'd been through something, the weird night text, whatever happened out there. She was processing, give her time. The thing with Caleb happened the second week she was home. He called me. That alone was strange. Caleb and I are close enough, but he's not a call me out of nowhere person. He said he wanted to ask me something, and his voice was careful in a way that made me sit down. He said, "Has Maria seemed different to you since we got back?" I didn't answer right away. He kept talking into my silence. He said that there had been a night in the desert. He wouldn't tell me exactly what happened, just that they'd gotten turned around on the road that wasn't on any map. That Maria had gotten out of the car for some reason and he couldn't explain and been gone for almost 40 minutes. And when she came back, she said she was fine, but something in the way that she said it made him not ask any more questions. He said since they've been home, he kept finding her awake in the middle of the night, standing in the living room with the lights off, just standing there. He asked what she was doing. She said she couldn't sleep. She was always calm. That was the thing he kept coming back to. She's so calm. She used to worry about everything, he said. You know that. She worried the way other people breathe. Now nothing bothers her. Nothing. I know that sounds like a good thing, but it isn't. It doesn't feel like she's gotten better. It feels like something that used to be there just got turned off. I didn't sleep that night. We sat in the kitchen and she made tea the way she always has. She asked me about my job, my apartment, whether I was still seeing that guy from the gym, all the right questions. She laughed at the right moments. But at one point, I mentioned our dad something small. Just a memory, and there was that pause again. That half second behind her eyes. Then she smiled and said, "Yeah, I miss him too. Our dad is alive. He lives 40 minutes away. I had dinner with him the week before." I almost said something. I watched her face look for a crack, a tell, anything. There was nothing. She picked up her mug and took a sip and waited for me to keep on talking to her. and I kept talking because I didn't know what else to do. I've been going over every text she sent me, trying to find her in them. I've been listening to that last voice memo, the one with the laughing on repeat. 12 seconds of my sister so happy she can't even get the words out. I don't know what was on that road in the desert. Don't know what happened during those 40 minutes. I just know that when I hugged her goodbye at the door, she held on longer than she needed to. And when I pulled back and looked at her in the face, she was looking at me with an expression I had never seen before. Patient, still, like she had all the time in the world, like she was waiting for something. I'm going back to see her tomorrow. I don't know what I'm looking for exactly. I think I'm hoping she'll do something that proves me wrong, that she'll laugh at the wrong moment, or worry about something that she used to, or slip up somehow. Just be her, my sister, the one who sent me voice memos, the one who sent me voice memos over laughing at nothing. I'm going to update when I can. Edit. Caleb called me last night. He said she was asking about me, not about how I was doing, about my schedule, when I'm usually home, whether I live alone. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I'll update when I can. And that is the end of the story. Wow, that is. Yeah, that's not her sister. No way. That is terrifying. If my sister ever came back from a road trip and act like that, I would genuinely be so scared. All right, this is going to be story 4. My coworker keeps dying. I work a pretty dangerous job. Without proper training, things can go south fast. Me and all my coworkers are constantly around heavy machinery and industrial equipment, and I think we all know how to avoid an accident to the best of our abilities. That doesn't mean that they don't happen, though I've had friends lose everything from fingers all the way down to entire legs just from being careless. Usually, when this happens, there's a big uproar amongst the higher ups. All the paperwork, the coworkers' comp, it all becomes a big hassle. I guess that's why they brought in this new guy. He just sort of showed up one day. Nobody trained him. He never even shadowed anybody. He just came in, got to work. Honestly, I don't even think anyone knew his name. All we knew him as was the new guy. He didn't have any defining traits, no tattoos, no facial hair, nothing. Hell, he didn't even have hair. He was a full on cue ball who just hopped on the line one day. There was one thing that made him stand out though, and that was his uniform. His shirt was bright red, whereas me and my coworkers had to wear black. It didn't have the company name on it either. Instead, written in bold white letters was the phrase, the new guy, like it was a badge of honor. He was a hard worker for the first week. His efficiency seemed almost computerized in its optimization. He honestly made the rest of us look bad. That until his first accident. We all saw it happen. Hell, I'm still traumatized by it. His hand had gotten stuck in the conveyor belt, and it immediately started to suck him in. He didn't scream. He didn't make a sound. He just kept on getting pulled deeper and deeper, while his skin tore and blood sprayed from his wounds like a faucet. His face was as calm as it could be. He didn't ask for help. He didn't even try to free himself. He just let it happen until someone finally hit the emergency stop button. But by that point, we could see just how mangled he really was. Corporate cleared the scene immediately. They forced everyone to go home early with a day of no pay. We were all pissed, but I think we were more shaken than anything. The next day, there he was again, without so much as a scratch, stacking bird baths onto a wooden pallet. I stood frozen. I nearly dropped the bird bath I was holding. The coworker glanced over at me and nodded before returning to his work. Blood. The conveyor belt. The sounds of the bones snapping inside the machine. We had all seen that, but everyone acted like they didn't remember. I tried to talk to the other coworkers about how insane this really was, but everyone just looked at me like I was the crazy one. In the weeks that followed, the new coworker had come back full swing. He became the top performer at the company seemingly overnight. I was honestly in fear for my job because it seemed like he was doing the work of 10 men at once. Then it happened again. Another accident. He worked through lunch this time, so nobody was around to see what had happened. We just came back and found him crushed underneath a pile of bird baths. Blood pooled underneath the rubble. His entire body had been covered. The only thing that remained visible was his head and those calm, still blinking eyes that scanned the room while more and more people gathered around. Much like the first time, corporate made everyone go home early again. We came back the next day and boom, there he was again, working as though nothing happened. There were 3 more accidents after that. Some were due to technical problems with the machinery, some were due to what seemed to be full blown ignorance. But with each accident, the next ones became few and far between. It was like he was learning. Once he became fully optimized, he had gone a while without incident. The company started letting people go. I watched coworkers who had been with the company for 10 plus years walk out the door with their last check in hand and tears flowing down their faces. Every day started to feel like my last, but somehow I made it through the initial waves of layoff. I knew my security wouldn't last long. The new guy was carrying the company on his back, but I still had hope things would work out. Unfortunately, all those hopes were dashed when I came to work yesterday. I saw someone I didn't recognize. No defining features, no tattoos, no hair on his head or face. The only thing that made this guy stand out was the bright green shirt he wore, with the phrase, "the new guy," written across it in bold white letters. Damn, that was an interesting story. I will say that would suck. Brutal, brutal deaths, though, I will say. Getting crushed by a giant pallet. God, that must have sucked. And the conveyor belt one, too. Oh, that was disgusting. Alright, this is going to be story 5. I'm a night surgeon. Sometimes I put the organs in. Thing I hate most about blood, how hard it sticks to everything. Everyone knows the basics, right? Red blood on a white shirt, God help you get that out. Same with carpet or any other fabric. Metal will rust like crazy. It's why I hate this job sometimes. Well, most of the time. But all the others were moral issues. People with money aren't going to sit around for an organ. If you have the money and no one seems to match, we will find one. Why not Rick? Which leads to my job. I'm a night surgeon. Sometimes I get to put those organs in, showered in praise and condolences after I do. Other times, I help repossess them. Granted, it isn't like I'm a repo guy. I just take them out before the body is cold in the chop shop. Granted, Grant is repo. Nowhere near my department. Fucking ghoul. Either way, it's not like it's what we want to do first. We try late fees and liens, hard selling some courts, but most clients agree it's better than Grant. Now, I will admit there is some stuff that might be considered and toward my end. I can use paralytic, but most angelics will damage the product. That and usually other organs are collateral. Fine print stuff. You understand. Fuck. Grant just dragged in another one. Butcher, how the hell am I supposed to get something usable out of that? Only excuse he gave was, she kept trying to crawl away. If I had it my way, then he would just be a serial killer. At least he can work on something constructive, I guess. One more personal annoyance. Could someone give Grant a note to use a bag when moving product? Took 3 hours of scrubbing after to get the sweep back in operation. How would I explain to my next client that it wasn't me? I don't botch my work. I am a damn good surgeon. Also, can Grant wipe his shoes before coming in? Mud of the hallway also isn't a good look. Mr. Primrose is pleased with the results. I can still see the seam. It's like a 3-year-old complimenting Picasso on a doodle. I will have to see if I can get better sutures, something that won't feel so fragile when I operate. This was, however, my first augmentation instead of standard replacement. LeKite should be more than happy with his, how did he phrase it? Dessert stomach? His gluttony is gross. But he is the first client I have met that has paid for his piece in full. We may even let him keep it after death. How selfish. But the customer is right. How dare he? some of my finest work, and he checks bounced. It is the first time I've ever reached out to Grant personally. Though I will have to go with them. I need the organs back in good repair. And the only good ones in Mr. Primrose were the ones we so generously provided. Only problem with this one is Grant has cleavers. I guess I will have to show him what it truly means to be a night surgeon. Perhaps I was too hard on Grant. He seems actually quite intrigued with my work, particularly when I had taken the stomach and heart back within 4 minutes of paralyzing the client. Maybe I should remember my youth, working for OPS before they had paid my medical school, although I was still leagues ahead of him. He could in time make a fine surgeon. I was not expecting that. That's a good story. I like that. Very unfortunate for Mr. Primrose. Guess he should have paid in full next time, right? Oh god. All right, guys, this is going to be story 6. The crawl space under Nana's house. My Nana lived alone in a farmhouse deep in rural Maine. No neighbors for miles. Just woods, a dirt road, and an old house that seemed to groan even without the wind. It was her homestead, her happy place. I stayed there for a week every summer. The first night I woke up around 2:30 a.m. because I heard someone walking downstairs. Not unusual, I thought maybe Nana couldn't sleep. The footsteps continued for almost an hour. Slow, steady, back and forth across the kitchen floor. The next morning I mentioned it. Nana stopped buttering her biscuit and looked at me strangely. Sweetheart, she said, I take sleeping pills. I was asleep all night. I laughed it off. Then she asked me something that made my stomach drop. Did it sound like shoes? I nodded. She went pale. Apparently, my papa used to pace the kitchen every night before bed. There was never a reason, just a habit. He died 4 years earlier. I figured my Nana was just an old woman connecting unrelated things. Then the third night happened. I woke up to scratching. Not downstairs, inside my bedroom wall. It sounded like fingernails dragging slowly through wood. I turned on my flashlight and listened, then 3 knocks came from inside the wall. Knock, knock, knock. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, I checked outside. There was no tree branch touching the house. No animals. Nothing. That afternoon, while helping Nana clean the basement, I noticed a small wood door tucked behind the shelves. A crawl space, maybe 3 feet tall, with a hanging padlock that was rusted shut. What's in there? I asked. My Nana looked genuinely disturbed. Nothing, she replied. Then why is it locked? She didn't answer. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Around midnight, I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and went downstairs. The basement air smelt like mildew and dirt. I found the crawl space door. Nana had tried to push the cells back in front of it, but I easily pushed it out of the way and finally got a good look at it. The padlock was ancient, but something was wrong. The lock was hanging open. I could have sworn it was rusted shut earlier. I remember because I had tried tugging on it. Now the door was slightly ajar. A black cat stared back at me. I should have gone back upstairs. I should have crawled into bed, put on Adventure Time, and went to sleep. Instead, I opened it. The smell that seeped out was horrific. Rot, wet earth, something sour. I shined my phone flashlight in. The crawl space stretched beneath the house. Dirt floor, stone supports, darkness. At first, I didn't see anything. Then my flashlight landed on something in the corner. A chair, just a wooden chair facing the wall. I remember feeling something. I remember feeling irrational fear. It was like someone had left it there intentionally. I turned my head to the left. I heard movement, a soft scrape somewhere deep in the darkness. I froze. my hands trembling slightly. "Huh? Hello?" I called out. I wasn't sure why I did because either way, I would be scared. But if I heard a reply, I'd be terrified. The movement stopped. Silence. Then something answered. Not a voice, a breath. Long, slow, right beside my ear. I swung my flashlight. Nothing. The whole crawl space was empty. I slammed the door shut. I slammed the door shut and ran up the stairs as if my life depended on my speed. I couldn't even tell you how fast I made it back to my bed, under the covers immediately, and began watching Adventure Time to distract me. I didn't sleep at all. The next morning, I told Nana everything. She stared at me for a long time. Then she finally told me why the crawl space was locked. Years before I was born, she used to hear something moving beneath the house every night, scratching, crawling, breathing. My papa assumed it was an animal. One night he went down there with a shotgun and came back 10 minutes later with white as a sheet. He immediately nailed the crawl space shut and locked it with a heavy duty padlock. When she asked what he had seen, he refused to answer. For the rest of his life, he would only tell her, "It wasn't an animal." A few months later, he suffered a heart attack. He never explained further. I was running on a 2 hour nap I took in the middle of the day while my Nana sat on the couch sewing a kitchen towel for her friend. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the chair, about the breathing, about what Papa had seen. Around 3 a.m., I heard footsteps in the kitchen, walking across the kitchen, slow, steady, back and forth. I pulled my blanket over my head and turned up the volume on my TV show on my phone. Then the footsteps stopped. I listened. Nothing. Then came 3 knocks. Knock, knock. On my bedroom door, I whispered, "Nana?" No response. Then I heard something that I would never forget. Never. A voice. Very soft, very old, coming from the hallway. "Emma." My blood turned to ice. Nana was the only person in the house. She never called me Emma. Always sweetheart or baby. I didn't move. The voice came again, closer. "Emma." Then from downstairs, I heard my Nana scream. I threw my blankets off the bed and ran out my room. Down the stairs, I found her in the kitchen, standing at the basement door, shaking, crying, pointing. The basement door was open. The light was on, and muddy footprints led from the basement stairs into the kitchen. No shoe prints, not animal tracks, handprints, hundreds of them, littering the tile, as if something had crawled out the crawl space using only its arms. We left the house before sunrise. My Nana moved into assisted living the next year, unable to maintain her homestead. Farmhouse sat abandoned for nearly a decade. Then a contractor bought it, and according to local rumors, he quit the renovation after 3 days. He told people he kept hearing someone moving beneath the floors at night. Last year, curiosity got the best of me. I looked up the property online, up for sale. The listing photos were mostly normal: kitchen, bedrooms, bathroom, basement. Then I saw the photo of a crawl space. The chair was still there, facing the wall. But that wasn't the thing that made me close my laptop. Someone had zoomed in and actually captured the corner behind the chair. There was a person crouching there, naked, pale, thin enough to see every rib, looking into the camera. The phone was taken in daylight. The realtor later removed the image, but I downloaded it first. I've shown it to a dozen people, telling them what had happened in the house. Every single person noticed the same thing eventually. The thing in the corner isn't looking at the camera, it's looking past it, like it's watching whoever is viewing the photo. And every time I open the image, I notice something I swear was not there before. The last time I checked, there were muddy handprints on the wall behind the chair. 3 of them, fresh wet, as if something had just climbed out. Oh my god. I'm not gonna lie. That score, that story actually fucking scared me. Oh, like towards the end, it like had me like looking over my shoulder, and I got goosebumps reading like the last few parts. My lord, that story was terrifying. Alright guys, that is going to be the end of the video. I hope y'all enjoyed the stories and the video so far. If y'all have any comments or suggestions on what I should do next, then let me know. Other than that, stay safe out there, guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.